This feels weird. The way that I put this off for days. Days. And then today I was supposed to come home and do it when I got home and the plan just threw me off. That little doggy over there. This one right here. Yeah, that one that you're seeing, the black one right there, threw my plans in the trash. Trash, I say. Trash. Hi, hello, welcome back, Workers Besties, to another video. As you see by today's title, we are going to be talking about the books that I read in May. Now, you may have heard me say the word slumping in multiple videos that I recorded and posted last month. And you may be looking at the number of books that I say I read in May and be thinking, that's you in a slump? You read 2 less books than you did last month. I don't know how. I really don't. I don't know. I think 8 out of the 17 books that I read were manga. I'm not gonna lie. I read volumes 2 through 6 of One Piece and volumes 7 and 8 of A Ton of Affection. So that counts for 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, that accounts for 7 of the books I read. That still means I've read 10 other books, which it does not feel like. It felt like I was not reading at all. Like it felt like I was going weeks at a time without reading, but I guess I was reading more than I really thought I was. But I digress. It was a really good reading month. So let's hop right into all of it. As I just mentioned, I read 17 books in the month of April. I want to create a cute graphic. So hopefully, editing me has decided to make a cute graphic. If not, it'll be in my next wrap up, a cute little graphic of all the books I read. But I read 17 books. I read a total of 5,311 pages, and that's kind of wild. That's kind of out of pocket for me, but whatever. And then my average rating, I mean, this is my highest average rating I've had in a really long time. It's 4.5. I pretty much enjoyed. It's 4.52. I pretty much enjoyed every single book I read, and only one, no, 2 books were rated below 4 stars. But I rated so many mangas 5, and I rated so many other books 4.5 or higher or lower, or somewhere in that range, that my average rating is a 4.52. As I mentioned previously, I did read 7 volumes of manga. I read 2 thrillers. I read 3 romances, and then everything else was fantasy. I don't know how many that is. One, two, three. I don't know whether I count that as fantasy or not. I'll count it as fantasy. I read 5 fantasy books, so I feel like I did a really good mix of genres this month. I did add in thrillers as like a new genre. I will get into that, but if you also watch my 48-hour readathon video, you will know that I read some thrillers and really enjoyed them, and can't wait for more. So let's hop right into all of this because we have all the books to get through. I don't think I'm gonna make this too long because I have grouped together each manga that I read. So starting off, I didn't read these all together. Obviously, these were spread throughout the month, but I did read volumes 2 through 6 of One Piece. I think I started off by the month by reading volume 2, and then just kind of sporadically read them throughout the month. I am reading the omnibus versions from my library. I actually have the omnibus version for 7, 8, and 9 currently checked out that I need to get to. I was hoping to get to it in May, but then things went off track because I got absorbed into a 48-hour readathon and I was going to move further and think something besides manga. So I took a little break from it, but I'm going to go back to it this month in June. So hopefully I can finish off East Blue arc and get started on the Baroque arc where they're actually on the Grand Line. But I digress. Volumes 2 through 6, I think I rated every one of them except for one of them at 5 stars. I think it was volume 2. Volume 2 was a 4.5. Bro, let me tell you, the action scenes, the fighting scenes in this manga absolutely so well executed. I love them so much. Like, yes, is Luffy a silly little goofy guy? Yes, but like I'm enjoying it so much, and I cannot wait to start the manga. I'm just trying to wait until I at least finish East Blue before I start the manga. So I'm almost there. I also just don't want any spoilers because from what people have told me, there's a pretty big spoiler in the live action a version of it, which I also want to watch the live version of it. So I do plan on doing both live action and the manga. There's a pretty big spoiler for like volume 8 or 9 and the live action. I don't know if it's in the anime too, but I'm just gonna avoid that by finishing off everything for East Blue and then going into the Baroque arc and starting like that. But yeah, I pretty much flew through all of those. I cannot wait to get back with it. We have met my favorite character, and if you don't know, I started One Piece a few years ago, and Sanji was my favorite character that was on that crew at the time that I was reading. I know there are probably like more people we meet along the way who get added to the crew, but with like the basic crew of like Sanji, Zoro, Nami, what is that other Usopp, all of them, and Luffy. Yeah, Sanji was my favorite character. So I'm excited. But yeah, that's kind of how I did my month. Those were just spread out throughout the month. I think the last one I read was sometime like a couple weeks before my 48-hour marathon. But I just, yeah, one of the first videos I posted for the month was trying to get through my April TBR. I was originally trying to do this in a week because I had like exactly a week left of April to try and get through my TBR. That didn't work out. I got into a little bit of a depressive episode, but I digress. I did end up finishing 2 books off my April TBR at the beginning of May. The first one of those was Insatiable by Lee Rivers. This was a 5-star read, which I knew it would be. This has been on my 5-star prediction list for a very long time of like a mental list of things that I think would be 5 stars. And this was definitely on it and it did not let me down. I enjoyed this so very thoroughly. If you cannot tell by the tabs, it is very rare that I tab a book first read through. So for me to stay consistent and literally tap this the whole way through says everything that I don't need to say with words. And I've already set up the editing system for Ferocious. It's just I'm kind of low key putting it off, but I know I want to get to it pretty soon, just because I want to cry maybe a little bit, and I feel like Ferocious is gonna make me cry because we learn about what happens to Stacy and everything like that. But in this book, to give you a synopsis and to get this review out the way, you are following Stacy and Cade. They are exes. They broke up because supposedly Stacy cheated. There is more to the story that we have not learned yet, that Stacy is kind of keeping on the down low about the whole situation. But basically, it's been a few years since they dated and they broke up. They were very much in love. They thought they were going to be together forever. And then, like I said, supposedly Stacy cheated and they broke up. And this is following them years later. Cade pretty much hates Stacy because she cheated, and Stacy was the first and only girl that he has ever loved in his life. This was a very big heartbreak for him, and he has changed very, very much. And he's into some deep, dark stuff. This is just like the icing on the cake. I feel like I'm about to dig into something so very deep that I'm scared, but I'm also very intrigued to see how we go from here to where we get their happy ending in restitution with all the badness in between. This is very dark, so please look up your trigger warnings. I did. Let me tell you, some of them shocked me. I was not expecting some of them. I didn't look at the full list because I tend to go into these pretty blind. I don't mind not looking at the trigger list for these. I may skim over it and do the most important ones that I think I should look at. But besides that, I typically don't read them. But I do advise, if you don't read a lot of dark romance, look up the trigger warnings. Like I said, this was a 5 star. The last 2 books are also 5 star predictions, which is the next video that I'm filming. But I just had such a good time with this. Like, I cannot believe like I read this and enjoyed it as much as I did, but I also knew that I would. Her sitting there is throwing me off. She thinks this little like windbreaker or whatever on the mic is food, and she tries to eat it. I have to keep it away from her. But I digress. The next book that I read for that video that was with Insatiable was Our Violent Ends by Chloe Gong. This is the second book following These Violent Lights by Chloe Gong. This is a Romeo and Juliet retelling, so we all know how this ended. I thought I was gonna cry. I thought I was gonna be a bit more emotional by the end of this because I really felt for our characters, being Roma and Juliet, being thrown into this war that they never really wanted to be a part of. That's been going on for so long that they don't even know why it's really kept going and all of the things like that. Um, and so I really felt for them, and then their ending together just was the icing on the cake. If you know, you know. If you've read this, you know how this ends for them. Within this case of this Romeo and Juliet retelling, I actually really enjoyed this. Um, I gave it a 4.75. It wasn't quite a 5, but I still really liked it. It's just I thought it was gonna make me cry, so when I didn't cry, I was like, oh, let me feel like I wasn't as good at the characters as I was, but I truly felt for these characters. I truly want more of Marshall and Benedict. Is that his name? Marshall and Benedict? Their love confession in this. That's like maybe a little like slight bit of a spoiler, but like if you read book one, you we all knew it was coming at some point, and it came in this one, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. This if you don't know what these Vanillites duology pretty much is about, this is following a like I said, a retelling of Romeo and Juliet. So you're following Roma Montagov and Juliet Sai. They are in two rival families. This rivalry has been going on for years. When all of a sudden, this monster, this thing starts killing both people in the gang, and they think they're both responsible for it. But then they realize that something more is at play here, and someone is trying to take out the people because this is also set in 1920s Shanghai. And yeah, it's a little bit, I won't say magical realism because it's still real world stuff. It's not heavy on the fantasy elements, it's very light, fantastical elements. But I still really enjoyed this. And I'm so happy that I finally went back to read this because if you remember me saying it, These Are the Ends was, or These Are the Lights was a right book, wrong time where I tried reading the first book a really long time ago and I finally got back around to it and enjoyed my read through this time. I'm super excited that I read this, and I cannot wait to go into the duology that's following this. I think it's following one of the female main characters who was like Juliet's cousins. I forgot her name. Yeah, her. I think it's following her, so I'm super excited about that to see where it goes. The next book I read wasn't officially on my TBR, and I didn't read this in that video that I just mentioned. I read this in my first attempt of trying to get out of my slump was The Sunbury Trials by Aiden Thomas. I listened to this video audiobook. This was a reread for me. But this is supposed to be my buddy read for April. I never got to it in April, so I started at the beginning of May to get through it. I'm technically behind because I have not read our buddy read for May, which was Fairy Bound, one of my most anticipated releases of the year, which I'm actually going to be reading in the vlog soon. Because I'm not going to tell you which vlog, but it'll be coming in the vlog soon, and so you will see that. But this is the first book. This is the first book in the Sun Bearer duology. This is a mythological fantasy trials book. In this book, you are following Teo. He is a semi. What is he? What is he? I'm trying to think. Yes, I was right. He is a semi deus, um, which basically his means his mom is a god and he's like half god because his mom is like a full god. I don't know what it is. Something along those something along those lines. It's kind of like the Greek gods, like like Percy Jackson and all of that. Um, And so every 10 years or so, the Sunbury trials take place, which is basically where they complete in these trials and someone becomes a sacrifice for its soul, which is basically the sun, and the creator of this world. And so he doesn't think he's going to be picked for the Sunbury trials, but lo and behold, he is picked and he has to compete in these Sunbury trials. And so we follow him on these trials to figure out who is going to be the sun bearer. Obviously, some things go wrong along the way. But this is a really good fun time read. This is a queer book. I really need to get into some more queer books. I feel like I'm lacking as a queer person myself. Find myself very lacking in the queer genre. Case in point, the one singular shelf I have containing queer books. But I digress. It is something I'm currently working on getting more into. And so you will be hearing me create a queer fantasy TBR soon. I'm not going to tell you when, but that is a video. Sorry, took my phone case, but that is a video that's coming soon of talking about some books that I have added to my TBR that are queer. Because, like I said, I'm queer. I'm literally gender fluid. I'm up there. Okay, I'm queer. I'm pansexual and polyam. So like that's like all of it all in case in one. And I just feel like I'm lacking. But I digress. I really enjoyed this. Like I said, this was a reread. I gave it a 4.5, but when I think about it, it's more like a 4.25 just because it's about a slow start and the chapters are so long. I feel like part of this drag because the chapters are so long. It felt like I was just reading constantly in one chapter. Like, I think there's like maybe I don't even think there's 10 chapters in this book. I'm gonna be so honest. Maybe there is though. There is. It's 22 chapters, but like they're so long. But I digress. I still, like I said, really enjoyed this. The next book that I read was also in that video with the Sunbury Trials, and I recorded a read with me video with reading this book, and that is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. I also, once again, tried to read this book a couple years ago. I actually really remember it, because once I got to a certain part of the book where we were like getting into things, I was like, oh, I remember reading this part a couple years ago and I never finished it. I softened it enough. I was like, I'll get back to it. And since finishing Naturals, I've kind of been on the hunt for another like YA mystery thriller series that's gonna give me some of the same feelings as that gave me. And this was like literally perfect. I gave this book a 4.5. I really enjoyed it. I cannot wait to get into more YA or just mystery thrillers in general because I have gone into that genre and that will be another palate cleanser genre I have in between all the fantasy I read. But if you don't know what a good girl's guide to murder is about, you are following Pip as she does her capstone project, which is basically her project for her 12th grade year, her senior year in high school, as she investigates the disappearance and murder of Sal Singh and Andy Bell, who were a couple teenagers who went missing and were murdered a few years ago. And so she dives deep into this reopening of this case and figure out what actually happened to Andy Bell and Sal Singh because from what the people know, they think that Sal Singh murdered Andy Bell and then murdered himself because he was guilty. But Pip does not think that is the case, and she would like to prove the innocence for Sal. And so, with the help of Ravi, which is Sal's younger brother, they dive deep into figuring out what actually happened all those years ago to get to the truth and the bottom of things. And that is literally the icing of the cake. This dives so deep. And I heard this series gets a little bit darker as we go on, which makes me so excited because I think technically now book two would be like Pep. She would be probably I don't want to say I want to say like the summer before like she goes off to college and stuff. So I'm actually super excited to see where the next book goes. I do have a good girl what's the second book called? Good Girl, Bad Blood checked off in my library actually currently. So I need to get to that because I really want to see what goes on in that one. I think this one heavily correlates and I think there will be some trauma involved from the events of book one. If you've read book one, you know what I mean. So I'm really excited to continue on with this one. The next book that I read for another part of my trying to get out of my slump series that I had. There was a part one and there was a part two. Was Spark of the Everflame by Penn Cole. This is the first book in the Kindred Curse song, and this is my Indie edition actually. I bought this series originally when I first heard about it. Read it the first time, gave it a 4 star. Did a reread of it so I could go into book two, gave it a 2.75, and never continued on with the series. But now I have finally continued on. I have finally reread this and given it a 3.25 this time, and I will be continuing on. I actually plan to try and get to Glow the Everflame this month. I'm in the mood to read, so I'm hoping I can get to it. It's a bit of a chunkier book. This get chunky, but I decided to kind of give it another go because the fourth and final book is coming out later this year. So this is another series I could possibly mark off later on this year if I keep up with it and continue on and read it when it comes out. But I digress. In this world, you are following Dam. She lives in this immortal world that has been colonized by the descendant and their offspring. Her mother's sudden disappearance kind of throws her into the world of the descended. When she meets the king's nephew, I think it is, an heir. Um, he kind of starts watching her every moon, and she starts to realize that maybe he has something to do with her mother's disappearance. And so, like I said, she gets drawn into this political, a lot of politics go into this. There's a lot of that's going to go down. And with the ending of this book, I feel like we're only going to dive deep into whatever this world can bring to us. And I'm super excited about that because a lot of times book two can either be a flop or a success. So I'm really hoping that this can be a success for me and I can really enjoy it. I don't think it's 5-star worthy like that. Like I don't think book two would be 5-star worthy in my opinion, but it can be a really good book that I really enjoy and highly rate. So I have some high expectations, but nothing too outlandish. Um, so yeah, like I said, this is a really beloved series, and I felt bad when I reread it the second time and gave it a 2.75. But like I said, I reread it again, 3.25. The next book, the next book I did not own, so we're going to hold up the first book in its place, and that is City of Ashes by Cassandra Clare. I have recently started my Shadow Hunters journey. If you watched my bookish week in my life, you know I recently bought City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. I am going to start collecting these as I kind of go through and read them. I won't be able to keep up as I go through and read them because there are so many other books I want to read and buy, but I digress. These are like little trophy copies to just have. But I did read City of Ashes by Cassandra Clare, which is the first book in the Mortal Instrument series. I gave book one a 3.5. I ended up giving book two a 4.25. I actually really enjoyed it quite a bit more than book one because I felt like there was just a lot more going on in book two. But in this book, you were following Clary, and she has never heard of Shadowhunters, never heard of the demon world, none of that. But one night she discovers the Shadowhunters world and gets thrown into the middle of all of it. Especially because her mother suddenly disappears with no trace. So she is forced to kind of be thrown into the Shadowhunter world and learn about it through Jace and Isabel and Alec. Um, and she's kind of wondering why her mother has disappeared and why she has gotten attacked by a demon in the first place. And so we start uncovering some secrets about Clary's mother and her life before Clary. And I really love this. This is going to be my second read through of the first three books. I read the first three books. Oh, a really long time ago. We were living in a townhouse when I read those books, and we moved into my townhouse in 2020. So I want to say back in like 2021, 2022. Sorry, my best friend is texting me and said he listens to K-pop willingly. I'm an influence. I'm an influence on him. Anyways, so yes, I read City Ranchers. Like I said, 4.25. Really enjoyed it better than book one. I cannot wait to read book three. It is sitting over there. That's why I'm looking this way. It's sitting on my like little nightstand, waiting for me to pick it up from my library because that's how I'm reading these. For the most part, right now is through the library. My biggest gripe with Cassandra Clare: why is one chapter? Why does one chapter need to be 30 pages? You want to explain that to me, babe? What do you mean this book was like 490 something pages and like we only had like 20 chapters? Anyways, I digress. Oh, okay. So if you have watched my 48-hour readathon, you will have already known that I read these last few books of the month in that video. But the next book that I have is The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. I have officially dived into my thriller era. I actually am like excited to be in my thriller era. You won't catch me not reading a thriller now. I feel like I need to read a thriller like once a month now because they're so good as long as they're written well. Okay, my expectations are kind of high. I read two a week ago and like loved them. Like they're some of my favorite reads I've read all year long. Now, in hindsight, now that I have kind of sat and thought about it, The Housemaid is not a 5-star. I was just really excited about it because I really, really enjoyed it. It's more like a 7.5. But like, I'm gonna keep it at a 5 because I originally rated it at a 5. because I like sat on it and I thought about it, and it was a 5 when I had sat and thought about it last weekend. But now that I thought about it some more, it's more like a 7.5. But I digress. That's not what we're here for. I feel like I don't need to give a synopsis on The Housemaid, but I will anyways. The Housemaid by Frida McFarlane follows Millie as she gets a job as like a housekeeper, housemaid for this family. Um, when she discovers the wife has some weird tendencies and something weird is going on in this house. I don't want to give you too much because I went into this book completely blind. Like, yes, I knew like some of what the housemaid was about, like not really. Like anytime I would see anything about the thriller, the housemaid, I would just kind of scroll because I wasn't really interested. But I decided to just say screw it, give it a try, and I regret absolutely nothing. Oh my god, this book had me like staring off into space. Like at one point, I think during the video I was recording B roll, and I just kind of like look up and look at the camera, and I'm just like, because I was just that thrown off. Yeah, no, it was wild. It was a wild ride. I did not guess a single thing that was going to happen in that book. And like, I don't try to. I wouldn't like never try to guess anything, especially in a book like that. I'm not going to guess like this I didn't guess anything, and none of it I saw coming from a mile away. Like I was like quite shocked. So like I don't try to go into these guessing, but some of them sometimes they make it very clear what's going to happen. This one not at all. I think it's a single thing, nothing. And I enjoyed it so much. I definitely do recommend it. I feel like you probably have already read it and you were probably screaming at me that I should probably read it. But I guess. The next book that I read and finished in that vlog was Then She Was Gone by Lisa Joel. This is another thriller book. And this one I gave a 4.5. I still really, really enjoyed it. It just started off a bit slower than I was really expecting it to. But in this book, you were following. Oh, maybe this is lower than I actually remember it because I don't remember it. It's harder for me to remember books I listen to audio on that I don't have a physical book on. Like I strictly listened to this one on audio. There was no physical book for me to like grasp onto and like pick up. I strictly listened to this on audio, but I still really enjoyed it. And I still remember like specific plot points as we go through it. But we are basically following this woman. I can't remember her name for the life of me. Maybe I should just read the synopsis because that would make more sense. So give me one moment. So it says then she was 15, her mother's golden girl. She had her whole life ahead of her. And then in the blink of an eye, Ellie was gone. Now, it's been 10 years since Ellie disappeared, but Laura has never given up hope of finding her daughter. And then one day, a charming and charismatic stranger called Floyd walks into a cafe and sweeps Laura off her feet. Before too long, she's staying the night at his house and being introduced to his 9-year-old daughter. Poppy is precarious and pretty, and meeting her completely takes Laura's breath away because Poppy is a spitting image of Ellie when she was that age. And now all those unanswered questions that have haunted Laura come flooding back. What happened to Ellie? Where did she go? Who still has secrets to hide? And let me tell you, that's like the most perfect like synopsis that does not give too much away because it gives you nothing. I mean, it hints at something. Not gonna say what, but it hints at something, and like it just yeah, no, I don't think I understand. I enjoyed this so much, and like listening to the audio was an experience because hearing what happened to Ellie, I can't I can't even think about it. I can't even like I cannot fathom. No, I no. It was I need a physical book. I need a physical copy of this book on my shelf immediately because what? Yeah, it took me quite by surprise, but I still really, really enjoyed it. I definitely recommend. The next book that I finished in this vlog was Ruined Secrets by Neva Altaj. This is the fourth book in the Perfectly Imperfect series. I gave this book a 3 star. This was definitely my least favorite in the series so far. This series has like 12 books in it, so like I still have like a over halfway to go. Like if I do four over 12. I'm only one third of the way through the series, which is like a small little chunk to think about. Like, that's literally all I'm through, okay? What was this book? Honestly, listen. I love a good little city mafia romance quick read. This was like 200 pages, just almost 300, but like less than 300 pages. And let me just tell you, I almost hit every single moment of it because this is an age gap. She's like 19, 20, and he's like late 30s. And let me tell you, every time he would mention that she was younger than him and the age gap they had, my young wife, my teenage wife, and that is the reason it's a 3 star because you keep reminding me that you guys have a huge age gap. If you did not remind me, every single time we're in his POV, he mentions how she is young and a teenager. Sir, sir, I know this. You don't have to keep reminding me. Please stop. But besides that, I still really enjoyed it. I gave it a 3 star. I'm actually really excited about the fourth book. I'm really hoping that does not do what this one did because I also think that one is another age gap, but I just don't need it to do what this one did. I don't need it to do what this one did. If the MMC keeps reminding me that he's older in the next book, and then in this one, in this vlog specifically, I read volume 8, but I just put this together at the end. The last couple books that I have to talk about are volume 7 and 8 of A Son of Affection, my most recent manga obsession. Okay, I have not stopped talking about the series any chance that I get because I just love it so much. I just love it so much. Talent Affection is following Yuki. She is a deaf college student, and we are following her as she meets Itsami, who is like this like very popular guy who travels all the time, and they form a bond, and then it progresses into romance. So we're following them on their romance and them dating as a couple, especially because she is deaf, which is so different. I love guys. No, guys. Let me tell you, my babies, my babies. I'm not okay. I'm not okay. I'm almost caught up with everything that's out, and then I'll have to be sitting here all lonely and thinking about these kids until the next volume comes out. I did give both Volume 7 and Volume 8 5 stars. I genuinely have not stopped giving these 5 stars since like Volume 4. Whenever they started officially dating, I have not stopped giving them 5 stars since like pretty much then. Like, this is so good. It's so good. Like, is it very much like a fast burn? Like, they got together like 4 volumes in, maybe even less than that. Yeah, I don't care. I don't even care. Like, I just love this manga so much. Like, look at it. Look at it. Look at it. Yeah, no, it's perfect. It's perfection. I don't even care. This is the Emerson who was about to edit, who just realized as they were looking at their fable that they forgot to include a book in this wrap up. And that is Face Off by Chelsea Curto. This is the first book in the, oh, I forgot what the name, DC Star series by Chelsea Curto. This is a hockey romance. I kind of went into like a hockey romance mood because the deal came out in May. I haven't watched like off campus yet. I'm planning on doing that, although I don't really know for sure, just because there was some controversy a couple years ago dealing with El Kennedy, but that's not the point. I read Face Off by Jessica Carter. There's a story to this book. I actually DNF'd this book in part one of my trying to get out of a slump because I was reading it and I was like, I'm not really that interested. I'll come back to it later day and time because I'm not really in the mood for like a sports romance, like a cutesy romance. Come back like a week later. I devoured this book in 2 sittings. I had gotten through like 40, maybe 50% of the book. I devoured it in 2 sittings. I started it one night laying in my bed, reading it and just flipping. It was like 1 a.m. I was like, I need to go to bed. I have work in 6 hours. Why am I still awake? Then later that day, I sat down at the library waiting on my mom to come get me, and I finished it. And I really, really enjoyed it. This is a 4-star read. In this book, you were following Emerson Hartwell as she is the first female hockey player to make it into the NHL. And she joins this team to kind of bring her luck up because they've been down and out, but they're finally winning and things like that. She joins the team who we have our captain. I can't remember his name right now. I can't remember his name right now. It's baffling me that I cannot remember his name right now. What was his name? But yeah, she gets it on with the captain of said hockey team. When I tell you this man was so down bad. And I heard that this whole series, all of the MMCs are down bad for the FMC. Maverick. His name was Maverick. His name was Mav. That's what it was. I remember that. So yeah, that's what we're following in this book. The romance, the like, I don't want to say slow burn of it all, but like the reluctance. There's also no third act breakup. They talk about what their issue is and work through it together. Yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna take you back. I don't know where I'm gonna input this. I don't know if I'm gonna input this at the end after I talk about the time of affection or where, but I'm gonna take you back to last night me who was recording this video. And that right there, folks, is the 17 books that I read in April. Nope, May. How long was my wrap up for May? I mean, I can't get the months right, guys. How long was my wrap up for April? It was like 50 minutes long, wasn't it? It was 49 minutes long. I've done better because it's a 17 book. There's two less than that, and I made this shorter. So I'm proud of myself. But I digress. Nonetheless, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you have read any of these and want to chit chat up about it, let me know. How many books did you read? Did you like the books you read? What was your average rating? Because mine was extremely high. Hopefully, the good vibes continue on in June, and I read some really good books. But we will actually see what actually happens. But I digress. I hope you have a great day, evening, night, morning, afternoon, and whatever part of the world you're having it in. I'm going to edit this in between. I'm going to go do sprints. So 45 minutes is going to be spent reading, and then like 15 minutes are going to be spent editing, and then another 45, and another 15, another 45, and another 15, and back and forth, and back and forth, and back and forth. And like, yeah. Anyways, I hope you guys really enjoyed today's video. I will see you guys in my next one. As always, down below will be my good views people and Instagram for you to check out if you would like, and my TikTok. I did discover my old BookTok account that I had like 3 years ago, so I'm thinking of going back to that and posting on that full time again. And we'll see what actually happens, but I will link that down below for you so you can go see some of my old content from like 3 years ago and before then. Like, I think this goes as far back as like early 2021, like late 2021 maybe. So like, you should go check it out. I'll link it down below. But with that being said, guys, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.